Hey everybody, welcome back to Dr. Brian's Kitchen. The fall is here. That means it's time for some hearty soups and stews. And today I'm going to show you how I make ham and bean soup, one of my fall favorites. We're going to start with the star of the show, the ham. And these are Ham Shanks, about 2.5 pounds worth, but that's a little misleading because about half of these are bone. So really there's about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of ham going into the crock pot here, and you can see that I'm using a crock pot liner. That just makes for a lot easier cleanup. So I put the ham shanks into the bottom of the crock pot, and now the other star of the show, the beans. I have not soaked these beans. I have just rinsed them and drained them. These are Hearst's 15 bean blend for ham and bean soup. Perfect, makes it flavorful, colorful, and the great thing is you don't have to soak them overnight if you're going to make it in the crock pot like I am. So I'm going to put the beans in along with the ham shanks here in the crock pot. Try to get them all. Okay. Now we're going to add 48 ounces of chicken broth. Just pour that right in. Might look like a lot of liquid initially, but it will reduce down. And if it doesn't thicken up as much as you want, you can always thicken it up at the end. And I can show you how to do that. We'll see how it goes. You may not need to. All right, now we're going to add 1 small chopped onion. Tablespoon of pepper and a tablespoon of garlic salt. I'm not a big garlic fan, and so a lot of people would probably add garlic directly to this recipe. I just use garlic salt instead of regular salt to give us a little bit of that garlic flavor. Obviously, with the salt and the pepper, whether you use garlic salt or regular salt, you can add more later to your taste. All right, I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir to mix those last few ingredients that I put in on top of my beans. All right, and now I'm going to put this into the crock pot on high for 5 hours. At the end of 5 hours, I'll come back and show you 2 more ingredients that we're going to add. The nice thing about Hearst's beans is that they come with a little ham flavor seasoning packet specifically for ham and bean soup. And it's great. But you add that more towards the end with like about an hour left to go. Same thing with 1 can of diced tomatoes. So 5 hours on high, and then we'll come back at our last 2 ingredients, cook 1 more hour, and we should be ready to go. Okay, so we're back. It's been 5 hours, and now we are ready to do 3 things. We're going to take out the ham shanks and get rid of the bones, and at this point the meat should just fall right off the bones, so we'll get rid of the bones, put the meat back in, and while we're doing that, we'll add in our last 2 ingredients, the seasoning packet that came with the Hearst beans and 1 can of diced tomatoes. So let's get in here and get our ham shanks out. They look great. There's one. Two. Three. Now this one's already falling apart. Could you use other cuts of ham? Yes, you could. This is a great recipe to use after you have a holiday ham and you've got leftovers and you're trying to figure out what to do with the leftovers. Okay, I think those are all of our ham shanks. Yes, they are. So at this point, as I said, the meat should really just fall right off. And you can see here how it does. Just falls right off the bone after 5 hours in the slow cooker. And we're just going to put those over here to the end. Okay. And you can decide how big you want the chunks of ham to be in your soup. I like some various sizes of chunks, so I kind of let it just come off the bone the way that it does, and I only break up really big chunks so that the pieces that make it into the soup will be bite size. This looks beautiful. You can see now why I used 2.5 to 3 pounds of ham shanks in the beginning though, because you can see how much of the ham shanks turns out to be bone. And so it's a little deceiving, as I said, when you see the weight on the ham shanks and you think, wow, I'm about to use 3 pounds of meat in this soup. Not exactly. 3 pounds of ham shanks really amounts to more like 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of actual ham. Okay. We've got one more to go. And as I'm taking the meat off of this last one, I'm going to go ahead and drop into my soup 1 can diced tomatoes, and the packet of seasoning came with the beans. Adds a really nice smokiness to the soup. Go ahead and give that a stir. Alright. Finish now the last of the ham off of the bones. Just pull it just a little bit because we have some really big chunks there. Don't want to miss any. Mom would be upset if she thought that I had wasted any food. We had 4 kids in our house growing up, and we did not waste food. That is not okay. Alright, so now that we've got all of the meat separated from the bones, we'll add it back in to the soup, just like that. As you know, I started doing Dr. Brian's Kitchen because I had posted some pictures of things that I like to grill, and some vegans had complained, and so I decided not only would I post pictures of things, meat dishes that I like to make, but I would actually show you how to make them. So we've now done a fish dish, a lamb dish, a beef dish, meatloaf, that also had sausage in it, so I guess that's a beef and pork dish. And now a ham dish. And so as I'm putting the meat in here, I know that if any of my vegan friends are watching, this would be their least favorite part. But for those of us who are carnivores, it smells absolutely amazing, and I can tell this soup is going to really be delicious. In another hour, we're going to put it back on the heat on high for one more hour, and for this hour, this last hour of cooking, I'm going to actually leave the lid off, and I think that it's at a thickness right now where if I do that, it will thicken up enough that I won't have to do any thickening. There are different ways you can thicken it. If you need to thicken it, you can take out some of the beans and put them in a blender and kind of cream them and put them back in, and that'll thicken it up a little bit. You can mix up a little slurry with a little bit of cornstarch, a tablespoon or two, and about an equal amount of water. Stir that up, put that in. That will thicken it up, and you can add more if you need to. But the easiest way, I think, is to not put in too much liquid at the beginning, which I tried not to do. I used 48 ounces of the chicken broth. A lot of people might have used more than that to start with, but I like my soup thicker, so I kept the liquids down at the beginning, and then here at the end, just keeping the lid off and allowing some of the liquid that's left to evaporate, I think will do the trick for us. So we'll come back in an hour, see how it looks. If we need to thicken it up a little bit, we will, and then I'll let you know how it is. And we're back. It's been one more hour, so it's been a total of 6 hours now in the slow cooker on high heat, and I think it is perfect. It smells amazing. In fact, the whole house smells amazing. I think it's just the right thickness. In fact, it will thicken up some more when I refrigerate the leftovers, and as you can see, it makes a huge batch. So if you want to, you can freeze this also. It freezes really well, heats up really well. This, I think, is ready to taste so that I can tell you how it is. All right, let's give it a try here. Make sure we get a piece of multiple kinds of beans and ham. It is a bowl full of fall. It's rich, it's thick, it's hearty, it's smoky. if you're like me, it takes you right back to your childhood. The perfect thing for a chilly fall or winter evening. And let me just show you here the colors. Could you use just white beans in this soup? Yes, you could. But I like to use the Hearst's 15 bean mix because it just makes for a more colorful and more flavorful soup. If you try this, I hope you like it. Until next time, enjoy!